Why don't you enjoy being around people the way you once did? If that question stirred something inside you, you're not alone. Plenty of people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s begin stepping back from social groups they once treasured. It's not because they've stopped caring. It's not due to bitterness or apathy. It's because something internal has shifted. And more often than not, that shift is a result of wisdom, not weakness. In this video, we're diving into 6 deep-rooted reasons why you might now avoid others, even if you used to thrive in social settings. These aren't shallow guesses. Each one taps into something genuine, something many older adults have gone through, even if they rarely voice it. Some reasons might surprise you, others might strike a nerve. But one thing's for sure, by the time we're done, you'll have a clearer understanding of yourself, and perhaps a little more grace for the space you've chosen. Stick around till the end, because you'll see that distancing yourself from certain people isn't something to regret. In truth, it may be one of the most healing and insightful choices you've made. Let's get started. Reason number 1, the burden of past betrayals. Over time, we accumulate more than just memories. We carry scars. Some are minor, a small quarrel here, a brief falling out there. But others run deeper, breaches of trust, being dismissed, moments when we opened up only to be hurt. And as we age, we begin to hear those old echoes more distinctly. We stop putting ourselves out there as easily, not out of resentment, but because we've come to realize not everyone has earned the right to be close to us. Take Chloe R, for instance, an 81-year-old woman who once hosted weekend dinners without fail. Her home was filled with music, joy, and conversation. But things slowly shifted. Some friends faded away, one broke her trust, another vanished after her husband died. It wasn't a single devastating event, just a slow stream of small heartaches. These days, she prefers solitude over forced company. Not because she dislikes people, but because she treasures calm more than appearances. There's a quiet armor that forms in later life, a kind of shield shaped by experience. It may not always feel comforting, but it often feels essential. When you've lived long enough to see how easily people change or disappear, you begin to guard your time, your heart, and your energy. It's not about turning cold. It's about being discerning. Older adults have often poured out love, offered support, and been hurt without warning. That pattern teaches you to slow down, to reflect, and to retreat when something doesn't sit right. You begin noticing not just what people say, but how you feel once they've walked away. Psychologists refer to this as relational fatigue, when maintaining connections starts to feel more draining than rewarding. It's particularly common among those who have endured emotional hardships. And there's absolutely no shame in that. It's simply a sign that you've lived deeply. You've witnessed what people can bring, both kindness and harm. So when you now choose space over closeness, it's not fueled by resentment. It's grounded in understanding. It's the awareness that your heart at this point in life is something precious, and not everyone is entitled to access it anymore. Number 2, the longing for peace over idle chatter. In your younger days, you might have sat through conversations that lacked depth, discussions filled with small talk, rumors, or words meant to fill silence. But with age, your patience for that begins to fade. It's not that you dislike people. It's that you've come to treasure the serenity that quiet offers. Silence no longer feels uncomfortable. It feels restorative. And once you've discovered that kind of stillness, it's not so easy to trade it for surface-level talk. Consider Henry, a 76-year-old former salesman. He used to thrive on interaction, warm, friendly, and able to talk with anyone. These days, though, he steers clear of gatherings that require constant mingling. He often skips large family get-togethers unless he truly feels ready for them. When someone asks why, he simply says, "I'm done talking just to fill the air." He doesn't seek isolation. He seeks meaning, sincerity, and quiet that doesn't demand performance. As we get older, our emotional energy becomes more guarded. The need to impress slips away. The pressure to prove ourselves fades. What emerges is a hunger for what's real. We seek out conversations that matter, unfiltered, genuine, grounded. And if we don't find them, many of us would rather spend the evening with a book and a warm drink than surround ourselves with voices that leave us feeling more alone than before we arrived. This isn't about being distant, it's about being intentional. There's a quiet strength in choosing where you spend your time and who you let into your space. You've earned the right to protect your peace, to preserve your strength, and to say no without apology. That's not withdrawal, that's growth. And the more we embrace this clarity, the more we understand that richness in life doesn't come from the number of people around us. Sometimes a single heartfelt exchange, or even a peaceful evening to ourselves, carries far more joy than hours of forced engagement. So if you've been stepping back lately, turning away from idle chatter, skipping the crowded events, remember this: you're not shutting down. You're waking up, clear about what lifts you up, clear about what wears you out. And that clarity is one of the greatest blessings of getting older. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights meaningful, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue producing good content to educate and inspire you. Now let's carry on. Number 3, the sense that people don't get you anymore. There comes a moment in life when you look around and notice the world has shifted, and so have you. The slang is unfamiliar. The beliefs are different. The pace of everything, conversations, expectations, even friendships, feels almost overwhelming. And in the midst of all that change, you might start to feel invisible, unheard, or simply disconnected. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because people no longer take the time to see where you're coming from. Take Ella, a 79-year-old former school teacher. She used to love spending time with her younger relatives, telling stories from her life, how she raised 5 children, managed a home, worked full-time, and still found time to volunteer. But now she says they rarely ask questions. When she speaks, they smile politely and check their phones. It's not intentional, it's just disconnection. And over time, that gap begins to feel like a canyon. This is one of the quieter reasons people start stepping away. It's not that they don't care, it's that being in places where you're not truly heard starts to feel exhausting, and gradually you begin to choose your own company. Not because it's better, but because it's safer. You know how deeply you feel, how much you've lived, how much wisdom you carry. But when others stop seeing it, it's easier to stop offering it. This kind of loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about feeling misunderstood. You might be surrounded by others but feel completely unseen. You share a thought and they change the subject. You express a concern and they call you dramatic. After enough of these experiences, you begin to believe that maybe silence is simpler. Psychologists call this emotional invalidation, when your feelings are quietly dismissed or minimized. And it's something that affects many older adults more than we talk about, because it doesn't happen through clear rejection. It happens through small moments that accumulate over time. But here's the truth. Your thoughts still matter. Your voice still holds meaning. And just because others fail to hear you doesn't mean you've lost value. It simply means you've outgrown certain conversations. And that's okay. Sometimes the answer isn't to force your way into their world. It's to find people or spaces where you don't have to justify yourself so much, where simply being there is enough, where someone truly listens, not just waits for their turn to talk. And when those people are rare, it's natural to withdraw, to guard your energy, and to find peace in your own presence. Because in that space, you are completely known by yourself, and that is never something to feel guilty about. Number 4, the fear of being a burden. As we age, a quiet worry begins to settle in. A worry not just of sickness or even dying, but of being a weight to the people we hold dear. It's a fear that's hard to describe, but impossible to shake. You don't want to disturb someone's packed schedule. You don't want to reach out for help, even when it's truly needed. And so, you go quiet. You stay in. You keep your distance. This isn't about stubbornness. It's about care. It's about self-respect. It's about not wanting your presence to feel like a responsibility. You start saying no to invitations, not because you lack interest, but because you don't want anyone to feel like they have to go out of their way. You hold back your concerns, not due to mistrust, but because you don't want to add to their load. And so little by little, your world begins to grow smaller. Take Herbert, an 84-year-old widower who once spent every weekend with his daughter's family. As his ability to move around worsened, he started saying no to their invitations more often. When asked about it, he said, "I don't want them reshaping their lives around me. They've got careers, children. I'll just be in the way." And though his family never made him feel like a nuisance, the fear of being a problem outweighed his longing for closeness. That's the strange tension many older adults face. The more you depend on others, the less you want to. The more you treasure connection, the more reluctant you become to reach out. Because you've spent a lifetime being strong, being the helper, being the one everyone leaned on. And now asking for support feels unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. This fear stems from something deeply human, the wish to be loved freely, not out of obligation. And when it feels like your presence might cause stress, you begin to pull away. You'd rather be by yourself than feel like a responsibility. But here's the truth. Those who love you want to be there for you. They might not always express it well. They might not always get it right. But your value isn't based on how self-reliant you are. It's based on who you are. And if the people near you genuinely care, your needs will never be seen as a burden. They'll be embraced as an honor. Still, the fear remains, and it influences your actions. You hold back when you want to speak. You stay home when you want to visit. You sit out when you want to join in. And over time, staying away from people feels easier than facing the discomfort of depending on them. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful content to inform and encourage you. Now let's keep going. Number 5, the quiet fading of old relationships. Some connections don't end in arguments or goodbyes. They simply fade away. People head down different paths. Priorities evolve. Life slowly tugs you apart in ways that are hardly noticeable. You don't intend to drift. It just happens. And then one day you realize the people who used to fill your schedule are no longer part of your everyday routine. It's not always painful. Sometimes it brings calm, but other times it leaves behind a subtle sadness. Like you've moved beyond something you once held dear. You reflect on the lunches, the long talks, the shared humor, and wonder what changed. Was it them? Was it you? Maybe it was both. Think of Victoria, a 73-year-old woman who used to take weekly strolls with her best friend from high school. Over time, those walks turned monthly, then yearly, and eventually stopped. There was no argument, no tension, just a quiet understanding that the connection had faded. Their paths had diverged, new interests, new routines. Victoria said, "We still care about each other, but I think we've said everything we needed to say." This story is more common than many think. Friendships formed around shared phases, raising children, working side by side, being neighbors, often don't last when those seasons shift. And as you move further into later life, you might find yourself surrounded by people who no longer match who you're becoming. That's not a loss. It's a kind of progress. When you begin to value your time and energy more, You naturally become more intentional about who you give it to, not because you've outgrown them, but because you understand your own needs. And sometimes what you need is space. Space to breathe, to pause, to simply exist. Old companions who once lifted you might now feel tiring. Conversations that once flowed might now feel strained. And instead of forcing it, you choose space. Not from anger, but from a place of respect for yourself. People often say that growing older means losing people. But what they don't often say is that sometimes the letting go is your decision, because you've realized that closeness without true connection can feel lonelier than being by yourself. So when you create distance from certain people, it's not always about avoiding others. It's about respecting the shifts within yourself. You've changed, and that's something to accept, not feel sorry for. Number 6, the joy of being on your own. At a certain point in life, you stop chasing company and begin to cherish solitude. Not from hurt, not from emptiness, but because you found something many never do, that your own presence is enough. There's a rare kind of peace that settles in when you realize you don't have to explain yourself, impress anyone, or pretend to be someone you're not. For years, you may have been constantly around people, through work, family, commitments, and during those times, you may have barely had a moment to pause, to sit quietly, to hear your inner voice without distraction. And once you finally experience that quiet, it becomes sacred. Not something to run from, but something worth preserving. Think of James, an 82-year-old man who once thrived on being social. His home was the hangout spot, his laughter the loudest in the room. But in recent years, he finds greater joy just sitting and watching birds from his porch than hosting gatherings. When asked if he ever feels alone, he chuckles and says, "I've got enough memories in my head to keep me busy for days." What he's found isn't loneliness, it's peace. This shift often puzzles those around you. They may worry. They might assume you're withdrawing out of sadness. But in reality, you're tuning into something deeper. A rhythm that's softer, but richer. A life that's less noisy, but more meaningful. You no longer feel the urge to fill every silence, to justify every action, or to be constantly available. And that's not detachment. That's insight. It's the type of quiet understanding that only comes after years of giving, stretching, and showing up for others. Solitude, when chosen, becomes a refuge. It's where you recover, where your thoughts grow, where your truest self can breathe freely. And the older you become, the more you understand that some of your most peaceful days don't include anyone else at all. You move at your own rhythm. Follow your own thoughts. Do what feels right, and for the first time in a long while, you feel whole. Not because the world shifted, but because you finally claimed your place in it. If you're still watching this video and finding these reflections meaningful, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue sharing thoughtful content to inspire and support you. Now let's wrap up. Final thoughts. So which part resonated with you the most today? Which of these 6 reasons felt personal, like it could have been taken straight from your story? Maybe it was the quiet fading of familiar relationships, or maybe it was the moment you realized your need for peace no longer needed justification. Whatever it was, I hope it reminded you of something essential. You're not falling apart. You're transforming. Pulling back from others doesn't mean you're resentful or unfriendly. It might simply mean you've grown wiser. You've walked through years of life, and those years have given you the right to be intentional, to protect your calm, to respect your own rhythm, and to seek meaning not in the crowd, but in the quiet certainty within. There's honor in being alone. There's power in knowing your limits. And there's true freedom in no longer feeling the need to prove your value through busyness or constant connection. If you found yourself stepping away from people, Take a moment to consider the reason. You might discover that what you're craving isn't distance, it's alignment. And let this video be a reminder that even in your pause, you are noticed. Even in your silence, you are understood. And even in your solitude, you are not truly alone, because many others are walking the same road with quiet strength, deep reflection, and a clearer sense of what matters most. Ella, thank you for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell us one insight you gained today and how you'll carry it forward in your own life. Your voice matters to us, so don't hesitate to speak up. Reading your comments brings us encouragement and inspiration. If this video spoke to you and offered something of value, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support allows us to keep making content that uplifts and empowers. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.